Good evening, everyone. Johnny, can you hold roll, please?
Mr. Avery?
Here.
Ms. Flores?
Here.
Mr. Gastroy?
Here.
Mr. Hager?
Here.
Ms. Huff?
Here. I'd like to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you all to the meeting this evening. You'll take a moment and silence your cell phones. While we do that, I will read our board commitments. The Covington Board of Education commitments. To keep students at the center of our discussions and decisions, the members of the Covington Board of Education pledge to do the following commitments. We will be open-minded and value everyone's point of view, that each board member will be encouraged to express their views. We will agree to disagree respectfully, that each decision will be based on facts and district goals. We will complete routine business efficiently and devote time and talent toward visionary plans. We will lead and be guided by and accountable to our community, and to respectfully remind each other of these commitments. All right. Devonna, was there any public input tonight? Great. Well, not great. If anybody would like to talk to us, you're more than welcome to come in. I just mean we can keep going. Well, why don't we just hop right into our agenda tonight? We are going to start today with our personnel actions. I do not see Dr. Kippenbrock. If you do have questions, I'm sure that we have plenty of people, but Mr. Garrison definitely one that can answer questions. Are there any questions about this item?
I only have a comment. There's some in our red folder, some feedback. I think it's worth discussion.
I agree. I haven't had a lot of time to really look through it, but the information that I'm seeing is very interesting, just as you said. Are there any other thoughts or concerns? No? All right. Well, we are able to move on. This is an informational item. The next item we have our approval tonight for the employment for emergency full-time teachers. If there are any questions, Mr. Garrison can answer those questions. But this is, oh, it is? Oh, I'm so sorry. You're right. I'm sorry.
Item that each year.
Yes.
Just so that we were able to move indicators, position that our teacher.
Okay.
So it's all described in the memo that needs application on what you can do.
Yes. And I think I said approval because my agenda says approval, so my brain decided it was an approval item. All right. Are there any questions? Yes, Mr. Hager.
Mr. Garrison, how many employees with emergency certification do we typically have in the school year? Is that a lot? Is it just once in a while? Or?
I do think it increased this year, or over the past few years. Mr. Graham might have a better, don't mean to put you on the spot on that, Mr. Graham, but I don't want to give the wrong answer. So do you have any about a number of emergency certified folks?
You can get back to me,
Yeah, I was just
but
gonna say I can reach out and get information for you for the next board meeting.
Okay.
This is a sub position that they had last year. They actually used one of their SPDM allocated positions for a full-time sub last year at the high school, I think. And that's what they're asking to do again this year.
But this is a blanket, meaning we do this each year.
Oh, okay. Then I'm sorry.
Any other questions? All right, we can move on to our next item. And this is our Holmes class of 2022, the graduates. We had 184 graduates this year, which I think is incredible. The numbers seem to be going up, which is always exciting to see. Are there any thoughts or questions on this? Mr. Haggard?
so I do this math from this memo from Principal Turner, 28% of our graduates were either college ready or career ready or college and career ready. Are we concerned about that?
Absolutely.
Is there, I guess, what are our plans to try to address that moving forward? Because it is very heartbreaking and frustrating for me to see that.
Well, again, that will be a discussion between Mike, principal back, have that discussion with you guys. And so that's what we'll do. We'll have a discussion about those numbers.
I appreciate it.
Identify what does current mean, what does college ready?
Career ready means that, I'll start with career ready, means you have to take a series of courses in our education path. So let's say you're on welding, so you take that series of courses, you complete that series. I would have to get back to you on whether you have to still take, make a passing score on the COAST exam, which is the college and career ready exam. I'm not sure if they have to pass that. I do know they have to take a series of courses. And I think pass the COAST exam to be a complete. And that then you are considered career ready. College ready is you have to benchmark in 4 of your ACT, English, Math, Reading, on the ACT assessment. So that's how you become college ready. You have to take a series of courses. And again, I have to check and see if you have passed it. It says that they passed the COAST in the district certificate.
I'm sorry, I'm back.
No, that's okay.
Just because and I know that the ACT is it's still state mandated, right, for junior?
For your junior year, yes.
And are, I guess, the standards that are assessed on the ACT, are those the standards on which students, I'm going to look at Scott, like, are those the standards on which we are teaching in our classroom every day?
No, they're not. So, yes, so the standards that we are teaching are for the Kentucky assessment test. The ACT, how we try to address that is we do have, I think we still offer the ACT course up there, but a lot of times we try to address ACT through the bell ringers, standards on the ACT. And so that's currently how we address it. But yes, we are assessed on the ACT, and we also have standards for Kentucky.
Are there any further questions on this item? Okay. Then we can go on to the district assurances. Ms. Thompson here. Hi, so good to see you. Is it lit up?
Thank you. I'm a kindergarten teacher, so color is good. So I'm here to present the yearly district assurances. And I apologize for the timeline of them. They come out right after our first board meeting of June. And in order to get them prepared for you today, the timeline, in order for Annette to be able to ask for money, there need to be into KDE by July 1st. So I apologize for that. But what my role is this: I reach out to all the directors or supervisors of each of these departments or categories. And this is KDE's way of assuring that we are being compliant with all of their guidelines, federal regulations with receiving money. So I reach out to each director and ask them to review the questions and give me feedback, and then I go in and complete this. The choices of answers are yes, no, are not applicable. So each person has completed these. If you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer any items in there for you this evening.
These aren't grade level.
No, those are not grade level. They basically ask us if we're following the rules to receive federal money, doing things to be compliant.
Are there any new assurances this year?
There were no new assurances, no.
weren't following all the rules?
We have a couple things that we are following all the rules, but we have a couple things we would like to make stronger.
So you need for us to approve this tonight.
I apologize, yes, in order to make it more efficient, yes, and I apologize for the timeline.
So I'm going to make a motion to move the district assurances 2022 to 2023 to a voting cycle.
Thank you.
Mr. Gaskin?
Yes.
Mr. Avery? Ms. Corrigan?
Yes.
And Mr. Hager?
Yes.
Now I'm going to move to approve the district assurances 2022.
Second.
Ms. Hawk?
Yes.
Mr. Gaskin?
Yes.
Mr. Avery?
Yes.
Ms. Corrigan?
Yes.
Mr. Hager?
Yes.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks so much. We are moving into the report to the treasurer. We do have Dr. Bertram here with us this evening.
Good evening. The first thing on my agenda, my part is the Fidelity Bond that for finance officers that we have to have, our positions have to have a special bond because we deal with the money globally as the district level. Our policy a lot of times covers school money, but it's a smaller level. So every year KDE says how much I have to be bonded for. So it hasn't changed in a few years. It's $400,000. So we do have to pay the insurance agent to have that bond for me. So this is something we just started bringing to the board a few years ago. I just bring it to you as information. It doesn't have to be approved. It's just that you know we're doing it. I have to be bonded. The dollar amount is $400,000.
Great. Are there any questions about that? Thank you. Thank you.
My next agenda item is for approval, so that information has to be submitted to KDE. They have to approve those rates, then they turn around and give that to us. Their board didn't meet till like June, and so I'm getting it very late, so this is why it says an approval and not information then to approval, because we should be approving these rates by June 30th for the next year. You as a board can approve the rates. We can choose not to use them, but then we just don't use them. But a lot of times if you want to come back and do it later, you can't do that. So usually every year we bring these to the board for approval. The indirect rate, non-restricted indirect rate for next year is 16.11. It changes every year because it's based on actuals from the prior year. And so it fluctuates a little bit. The non-restricted indirect is usually used for food service. So over the last couple of years, we have been charging food service indirects. Remember that rate can now be used for ESSER, so that the higher amount is for ESSER. So it's an outlier. Even though it's a grant, we can use the higher rate. The other grant or the other rate at restricted is 4.02, and so that will be on grants besides ESSER that we could charge. So again, this is information I come to you and would request for an approval tonight.
Okay. Do we have any questions about that?
It's a comment really, and obviously I've talked with Director Brucey about this a lot. I'm very insistent that we try to use the indirect rate on everything across the board. And I know like, we need to get into a system and kind of like maybe ease some grant programs into that, but I think it's just really important. If we got it, let's use it. It'll help us build sustainability at the district level.
So
It's
after
just the cost of doing business.
So after Mr. Haggard and I had that conversation, I started pulling information from KDE to see what grants are eligible. Unfortunately, a lot of state grants are not. So I have it written down. I'm going to put a spreadsheet together. A lot of your federal programs can. So I've had some conversation with Mr. Garrison on what does that look like? How do we start talking to grant coordinators in regards to start indirects? Again, it's a cost of business. If you remember, I share a lot of times indirects are for my staff mostly to pay the people, to process purchase orders, to process bills and different things. And so that's what indirects are for. And so, yes, we are starting to look at that, Mr. Haggard.
Are there any further questions or comments?
I move to approve the indirect cost rate for 2023.
Second.
Thank you. Donna?
Ms. Huff?
Yes.
Mr. Castro?
Yes.
Mr. Avery?
Yes.
Ms. Horowitz?
Yes.
Mr. Hager?
Yes.
The next item is our bank depository, who we do banking with. There's always been controversy that you don't have to take it back to the board every year. It could be every 2 years. I debate back with the banking institution and stuff. KDE gets involved. And I always usually brought it every year. But I did get some pushback that really you don't have to. You can do it every 2 years. And so I went ahead and just said, okay, we'll use the form from last year. So that's why I stuck that in there to just show that it was signed off on. It does have effective dates that start July 1 of last year for 2 years. And so, but I do have those conversations with Heritage, because if we weren't happy with Heritage, we could get out of that agreement and start looking around. The good news is our economy is kind of rebounding in that regard of interest rates are starting to go up. So our regular money is going up in interest rates as well as investment money. So I'm going to do some research over the summer to figure out what's our best investment, where we should go. You remember a lot of times it was Huntington, we would give money and then they weren't giving us as much as Heritage. So I moved a lot into Heritage. So with all that shifting, I'm working with Compass. If you remember, that's our bond fiscal agent that's helping us in regards to a lot of stuff. They've given me some information that I want to look at, share with Mr. Garrison, and then bring it eventually to you. And so, yes, we are earning a little bit more money on our interest. We are still happy with Heritage. So I didn't do any, bids to say switch or anything, because it is a huge undertaking. You don't normally switch banks, every year or anything. So this is just bringing it to the board to say we're still staying with Heritage. The rates are going up. We can still use the form from last time, but I just, want to approve it to say this is what we're doing.
Sure.
And again, the timing was, by the time that they had to wait till May 31st to kind of see how much money was in our bank for us to discuss that. And then the timing of the information and approval just couldn't happen for the end of the year, because we have to have it in place by July 1.
Now, this is an approval item tonight. Anybody, is there other questions about this? Before we, okay, sure.
I like you coming to us every year. I think it's our decision on what we do and not the bank's decision. Even if we stay with the same, I like the flexibility of you pulling money out as our fiscal agent if we need to. That bank is not doing us right. So, I'll take it.
It was the banking, KDE. So, yeah, so I did really bring it back. I would never not do that every 2 years. It's just you don't have to sign the form again because it's in effect for 2 years unless we want to yank it. So I'll continue to do that.
Okay, so, but we can yank it if we need to.
Yes,
Okay?
yes,
So do you need approval for
Yes,
this?
yes.
All right, so then I'm going to move to approve the bank depository budget for collateral FY23.
Thank you. Devon, will you call roll?
Ms. Huff?
Yes.
Mr. Castro? Mr. Avery?
Yes.
Ms. Horowitz?
Yes.
Mr. Hager?
Yes.
My last agenda item is the financials and all the paperwork that goes with it, along with our warrants. I'll just give you a snapshot. June, remember, is always our busiest time of the year. These financials are of May 31st, so it looks like we have a lot of money left over in general fund, which June is going to be 5 payrolls versus our normal 2. All the year-end stuff that we're purchasing before year-end, we're trying to get all that stuff paid out. And so once we get through June 30th, because that's our fiscal year-end, we'll be trying to pull balances, and I should say I will be pulling balances to see how much money we had left, because we're always looking to see what we have left over, because that always becomes beginning balance for the next year. So we're closing the books, starting the new year and different things. So there's a lot more bills happening in the month of June. And I always like to remind you, July and August, we can still pay bills for last fiscal year as well as receive revenue. So I'm constantly updating that, trying to get a better, accurate ending balance. And so that's just the work that's going to continue. So this is all your financial information, warrants. Like I said, the pages will be a lot thicker next month as well, but I'll answer any questions you might have.
Questions? Sure.
And then I just saw, because I like to go through the warrants line by line because I'm fun like that. I saw we had 2 overpayments, or this, what was that to the state treasurer for that vaccine grant and District Voc grant?
District Voc, they give us an allocation that's tentative. And what happened in regards to that one is they cut the checks before they did the final allocation. It's an automatic. And then they reached out and said, oops, we should have not given you the money. So I have to give the money back, which I wish I could keep. The vaccine payment, we've already been paid for, and accidentally they cut us or sent us money, and so I have to give that back as well. So again, I wish I could keep that, but I can't.
Sure.
So yes, it doesn't happen very often, and then I had two of them within a couple weeks of each other, so.
And then my other question, this might be just be an offline question, because I know like it's the end of the year, right? So like you go through here, there's like a lot of food purchases and catering purchases, and like there's a lot of that. It's end of the year stuff. So I'm curious, like this might be just about our like procurement and purchasing procedures. Like, do we try to like have preferred vendors so like we're only to get some bulk discounts?
We've evolved that. At years ago, it used to be we would go out to outside people. Of course, they're trying to make money and have overhead and different things. So we've streamlined a lot of that in regards to a lot of PD. Mr. Alter and his team, they go to our cafeteria up at the high school. And so then, okay, they're making, some money, but we're in-house, so to speak. And so those are some of those invoices that don't show up on those warrants. And so I feel like we say, we do save a lot of money going to our cafeteria. Some of those things are probably on there because I don't know which ones you're talking of. A lot of times we do outside things to help, like it was Teacher Appreciation Week the last couple of weeks, and we go to outside vendors to do some of that.
And
so
that's why I get into the year stuff. I get like we're gonna, and I guess I go through this also like on different, supplies for this or that. Like, are we getting to a place where we have preferred outside vendors so that we are trying to get some economy of scale rather than every school just picking whoever they want to go buy stuff?
Food-wise, we really let them be able to decide what, their staff wants to do for those appreciations. We haven't streamlined that to say you have to go to these vendors for those type of things.
Oh, yes.
Okay, so at the retirement thing, I went upstairs, because I did not get there in time to eat, so I went upstairs. And all the food, brand new trays that have never been opened, were being pushed in the garbage.
A lot of times I know a lot of events I've been to in-house to stuff, we don't try to do that. We say, take it home, take it to your family, take it to your kids and stuff like that. So I don't know what happened for that event. I think a lot of times we have to order a lot of extra because we're afraid people might show up that we don't know, that they don't say they're coming. But normally we don't try to throw things away because I've taken stuff home to my family in regards when we have leftovers. So we'll make sure we let the appropriate people know about that particular incident.
Well, I made a comment because I'd much rather see there was 4 cafeteria workers there. They'll split it up and take it home. Or it was a Thursday night, so some of them in the refrigerator for the closing staff for the next day instead of putting in the garbage. I saw that. And they informed me that they're not allowed to take food home because that's stealing from us. And so and I understand that you want to overbook food, because you want to make sure everybody gets fed. But maybe what we could do is either get a better plan on how many guests that you're bringing and leave it at that. We got to do something. Or if there is leftover food, if we don't have the minutes for the next day, we're staffed.
We've even had events and then brought it here at board office and put it in the refrigerator. So I don't want to know names. I think maybe they were misinformed that we've never said that in all the different things about you can't take food home. So we maybe need to educate some people of not saying that because no, we don't want to throw things away. We try to give it away. I mean, when we did these visits of, the Cognia visits. I mean, we had even kids were around in some of those buildings and the kids came in and grabbed food to give out and things like that. So.
And at times we've donated to some of the food stores here with leftover food. So we have contributed to some of the folks that are in need in the community. So again, I'm with Director Birchie thinking that I don't think that's the common practice of what we saw at the retirement. A lot of times we try to collect it and give it to, like I said, like the free school food bank or some other homeless shelter or something like that, if people are not willing to take it home. So again, I am surprised that we were throwing away any food. Normally that does not happen, at least at the events I attend. I can't speak for when schools have their events, just school specific. But events that I'm normally a part of, it is eating or taken by somebody.
So you need a vote for the monthly financial support.
Yes, please.
So I will move to approve the monthly financial support.
Donna, can you call roll, please?
Ms. Hunt? Yes. Mr. Gessler? Mr. Avery?
Yes.
Ms. Clovis?
Yes.
Mr. Hager?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. We are moving into our consent agenda. Is there anything to be pulled tonight for further discussion? If I am following everyone's lead here, I don't believe there is.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Wonderful. Thank you. Devonna?
Ms. Hunt? Yes. Mr. Gessler?
Yes.
Ms. Avery?
Yes.
Ms. Clovis?
Yes.
Mr. Hager?
Yes.
All right, we have one individual item tonight for approval, and this is our Chinese Language and Culture Program Agreement for participation. See,
I'll talk to you real quick. NKCES has, they're starting, at one point, the Chinese foreign language was done through the state of Kentucky out of UK. UK has since decided they didn't want to do that anymore, and Superintendent Stacy, who's been very involved in it throughout the years of education, decided that he worked with NKCES, so now NKCES has the Mandarin Chinese program is housed at NKCES. And with that, Superintendent Stacy proposed to all superintendents at NKCES, if they wanted to participate in this, the cost for a teacher to come and give those services is $8,000. And so I took that information back to our principals and I said, here's the deal. You can start a Mandarin Chinese program for $8,000, of course, with board approval, if you're interested. One principal came back and said they had an interest in that. That was 6th District, Mr. Moran. And here we are tonight, just granting your support if you're willing to support that. Again, the question is why Mandarin Chinese? My comment would be $8,000 a teacher. I do know, some folks might have said, why not Spanish? Well, we can't get Spanish, even though we do have, it would be great if we could get Spanish. But that would be $45,000 per Spanish teacher. So we figured we could try to pilot a program like that for $8,000, see how it works, see if it's a good fit for us. And again, that would just give us a year to see how it works and come back next year to see to evaluate our success. I did send you all information about the research that supports offering a second language at the early ages in the primary. I did send you that research if you want to go back and look that up. And also since you in that same research, you talked about the benefit of high poverty, diverse student populations being exposed to a second language in the early primary years.
If I may,
Yes.
I know when Kyle was in school, he took an Italian class, which led him to where he's doing in this profession now. So I can't remember what grade level it was, but it was something that he was doing. So I'm a proponent of this.
Thank you.
I think it's important for us to realize that when a child is very young, they are like sponges and they can grasp on to new things like this. But I wonder about the English learning community. Obviously, Spanish would be the first choice, But I'm kind of excited about the English learning students learning another language, because by the time they are maybe out of elementary school, maybe they're leaning toward having 3 languages under their belt, which I think is really kind of cool. I do have one question, and I just thought of it, so I apologize I didn't bring this to you earlier. So to have a teacher, it's going to cost about $8,000. We talk a lot about cost of living and giving raises to our teachers and things like that. Are they doing something else besides just teaching this class, or are they just here teaching this class? Is that enough for someone to be paid $8,000?
Well, the program,
Okay,
with the program, I can't speak to everything, but the program helps them with housing.
okay,
The program pretty much supports them with every other need.
perfect.
I think one of the things that we might not have to consider once that teacher gets here is transportation to and from the school. I know that would be the only other support we might need off other than $8,000. Again, not knowing everything about the program, I just know our skin in the game is the $8,000. But the program provides so many other supports.
Like other needs, okay. Just when you were talking about, a Spanish teacher versus are they going to be able to survive off of that amount? Of course, it's a need for us, but.
Again, I think it might be in the information I sent you all, but it's beneficial for them because they're able to come over and spend some time in the United States. They're taking those experiences back home, those teachers. Again, for us, it gives us an opportunity to get our kids exposed to another language that we may or may not be about, especially at the early age. So it's a win-win for the program as well as the schools.
Of course.
Do you need approval, Brian?
I have some questions.
Yes.
So we don't offer Mandarin at the high school, right, or the middle school?
Right.
Okay. So I think like what everybody else has said, I'm a proponent of second languages in elementary schools. I was given that opportunity as a student here. The best thing about that was I could continue to have that language and follow that language all through middle school and high school, so I get to a mastery of it. So would this be offered to every student K through 5 at 6th district? Or would they choose grade levels, or like how would it actually?
I think, if I understand, it would be more geared towards your primary, your early primary. So I think it will be K to about 3rd. Once they get to 4th and 5th, I guess it will be up to Mr. Moran, but they discourage, once they get to the 4th and 5th grade, they discourage some of that. Again, the kids are getting older, it's a little harder to keep their attention. They may not be as excited about it as they once were in the primary levels. But I can get you that information. But part of that MOU is mainly, I think,
Page 3, number 9.
Yeah, that's what I said. It's K-5, that's why I asked. Is it going to be every kid? So then that's going to be like the mechanics of that. Every kid getting it 3 times a week, 20 minutes a session. And they're not going to be mastering standards in math and reading, which we have an issue with. And I understand the benefits. I get all that. I guess it just seems very unstrategic to me and just kind of chasing a shiny object. If we were offering, and I have a plan to offer Mandarin for the rest of their school career, so they get to mastery of it. If it was Spanish, like I get like that helps them in their immediate community. I even tried to do some research like on workforce statistics, like is this needed in Kentucky? It's not. So that's why this feels very unstrategic to me.
So I move to approve the Chinese language program review classification.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. The floor is now open.
Do we know what they will be not be doing for the 3 month meeting on this? with this taking place of?
I can assure you that it won't be math and reading, but I think they will find places in the schedule where they can fit it in. Again, me not having that elementary background, I would probably have to lean on Mr. Alter, Ms. Lindbergh as to possible places they might try to integrate this. Again, we do offer specials, the elementary school specials, or you are using your some of the other arts, PE. I know that we had this discussion, not about Mandarin earlier today, but we had the discussion as we were discussing some of the arts that the board wants feedback on. So we did meet with Carnegie today, and some of those, some of that discussion came up about how do we schedule this at the elementary school, things like that. So I learned some things today, put it in perspective for me around the scheduling of an elementary school, because I really hadn't had that. But yeah, the kids, they will find a place that this will fit. And again, this is the other primary, so I know that we do our direct instruction. I know that but there will, Mr. Alter, sure, if you want to come and support me on what I'm trying to say here, because
I don't think that's it's a good question, but I think that's a question more for the principal to talk about their day and how they fit. As principals, you have to fit a lot of things in your schedules that we're not even talking about. You think about right now, SEL, things like that are coming. They've been there, but now there's a bigger, focus on that. So, and the biggest thing I think what Mr. Garrison is saying is what I took from the Mandarin, and I'm glad we're doing it. And one school right now, pilot, see how it goes. But what I like about it is, like he was saying, the same thing with music and the arts. It's about the development of the brain at the early age, not necessarily to do 6 more years of Mandarin Chinese, but to the research is around the development of the brain at the early ages to affect science and reading and math and make the kids sharper. And so that's what I understood from it. It wasn't exactly, taking 4 years of it. So I'm interested to see, how that would work. And I think they've done it for many years over in Beechwood, and they like having that offering for their kids. And it may be, like you said, another exposure to another language. And if they're interested, there's tons of online ways you can go and further learn those languages on your own phone. So I see it as that would be a great question to ask Mr. Moran how he plans to do it, because he's probably already thought through it. And second, to the development of the brain at the early ages, like you said, they're a sponge, and just like the arts and things like that, languages help kids become better learners.
what kind of questions? We really didn't have any questions. We basically just, like I said, I had Superintendent Stacy along with the Mandarin Chinese coordinator at NKCS. I had them deliver a presentation to the 5 elementary schools. And I said, if anyone has an interest, let me know. And Mr. Moran was the only one who had an interest. And I said, since we have one school who has an interest, we'll give them a chance to try this. Or we'll take it to the board for the board's support to give them a chance to try this.
Yeah, it's echoing a little bit Tom's concern, and I'm very supportive of language opportunities in school. I'm also supportive of opportunism when it's, financially beneficial. Lots of opportunities we get for funding, and that changed a little bit our priorities. I know that when we were looking at the grant for deeper learning, I'm kind of past that. It was like, why do we need to throw one more thing? To me, this feels kind of like the deeper learning thing, where it was like, we're trying to focus. And so when I read more about deeper learning, I was like, this is pretty cool stuff. But I get that we don't want to distract people with more requirements. To me, this feels a little bit in that vein. But I guess I'd be interested in seeing the presentation of the students, just to understand more about it. And again, I agree that we need to give our principals leeway to be
one clarification, the teachers didn't see a presentation, only the principals. So just the principals saw the presentation.
All right.
Oh, I guess why is this coming to the board then? $1,000.
One, to keep you informed.
Okay, like if it was just informational, like I get that. I just didn't know, like, could a principal just go do this with their
Absolutely,
own?
with their own funding. But I guess if that was not the way I presented it to the principals, that they would, this would be something that they would have to put the bill for. Again, I felt like if we were going to, if the principal wanted to try this, that, you know, as a pilot, that we would cover the cost. And if it's successful, maybe they might include this in their budget, or again, just, I think our folks, you know, I think you all have talked to this as well, that we got to try new things. We got to take a few risks, give some folks some time to take a few risks, because it might pay off. Keep doing the same things over and over again, we're probably not going to get different results.
And this is coming out of the superintendent's discretionary fund? Is that in the budget?
Yes, that's exactly right. Yes.
All right, we have a first and a second. Are you guys ready to vote? Okay. When you're ready.
Mrs. Hope?
Yes.
Mr. Gasper?
Yes.
Mr. Avery? Ms. Carter?
Yes.
Mr. Hyden?
No.
Great. We do not have any items that were added, so no addendum for today. Erin, do we have a report from the attorney tonight? There's nothing to report. Nothing to report. So now we can open the floor for new business. Does anyone have anything they would like to add to the parking lot tonight?
Maybe I went back through all my board notes. I couldn't find it, so I might just have missed it. Have we updated our non-resident student policy to be in compliance with the new law that goes into effect July 1?
Not yet. We've been waiting on the KSBA to give us that guidance.
Are we going to have an issue? As the law states it's got to be in effect by July 1.
We don't anticipate an issue, but it's
Okay.
on our radar.
Okay. And then is there an update on contract we did with Dr. Cleveland for the equity work and the deliverables from that contract?
I think we can get you an update. Dr. Cleveland has requested a retreat with the board sometime this summer. I think trying to find the time that will work for the entire board is, I think, our challenge here. But he would like to schedule a retreat, not only to work with you all on the policy, but to also give you that exact update that you're requesting.
Last week I met him, he had a lot to go through, so he said that he would get in contact with us as soon as he kind of made it to a certain spot. That way we can help him finalize.
Is there like a hard date?
He mentioned July. We're very close to July, so hopefully we'll hear from him soon. All right, anything else?
I think with the,
Yes. Yes.
that maybe we could push Dr. Cleveland to August.
Okay, absolutely.
I would like to publicly say, in your red folder, you're going to have some of our teachers giving their feedback with their exit interviews. I want to thank them for doing that. And the reason why is, number one, I appreciate opinions. Number two is, this is how we grow, is by learning from the folks that are in our school district, and learning why they're leaving, so we as a board can address that with the superintendent through his evaluation process or through conversations that we have with him. So then he can trickle that down to his cabinet, to our staff. So I just really wanted to say that I appreciate the time that they gave it. I wish all, however many you left us, for taking the time to do that. They still can and send it in. We appreciate it. Thank you very much. And I wish them all best wishes.
Great. I would like to add just something for new business. It's more of just like an exciting thing. I don't know if everyone saw that one of our teachers won Miss Kentucky, which I think is really great. Hannah Edelin, congratulations. If you're watching, congratulations. We're so excited for you. What an honor to know you. That's all I have to say. Mr. Gastray, you look like you were going to add something.
No, I was just going to say on the exit interviews, I'm very appreciative of the people who filled them out. I know that we got 5 out of 47. So I would hope that we be strategic about how we encourage responses. For instance, we did a response, I don't know, these are not. They're in an anonymous way, hey, we need to get some
Mail it in.
I feel like you need to find some way to, because it's one thing if sometimes I like how they do whatever, but if there's some area that we want. It's very, there's a lot of value in it.
I agree.
So, this is the cost of us getting a new teacher, better feedback. Maybe one teacher a day.
Mr. Kipperbrook stated in his little blurb that they get a self-addressed envelope. So they can simply take their 5 minutes and fill it out and drop it in, and it would be anonymous. But we really do appreciate your feedback.
But I would want to share with you there, Mr. Gaswright, how you, what kind of care you're thinking about, because again, I think for me right now, as I listen to your thoughts there, I was thinking, okay, if they're wanting to remain anonymous, how do we get them something of character to do it if they're remaining anonymous? So I'd be interested in exploring some of your thoughts.
I do research. I guess there's to me, it is important. So I'd say whatever job it is to think about ways of making it, and if it's impossible, then it's impossible. And I just feel like there's some creativity here, because I've never had a result. And
I don't know, 47. I was trying to do the math in my head.
there's 90% of all people who listen
Well, my first thought is, it's paper, so perhaps it's just not convenient if it was an electronic. Do we have electronic versions of it?
We do, and
Okay.
the response rate is about the same.
Okay.
I do think, to your point about creativity, he has, I think, when, let's say, Alvin submitted his resignation, wrote out, I'm resigning for these reasons. He has been collecting that information. This is just the ones that they reported back, they sent back. He does have a little more data regarding some of their reasons for leaving, because some of them write a letter or send an email, I'm resigning, I'm moving, I'm resigning, whatever the reasons. So he's been collecting that, and he has. These are just the responses on what they did back to us.
And then I know I did an online survey where when you finish it, there is an opportunity, it's not like you're required, whatever. So I know it exists. I'm saying, I don't know, if you need paper version or if you can go online and maybe get it, with some of our, Unity partners. No, they think through the pilot, we can get gift cards to their community partners to donate it, they can be here. So it doesn't even have costs. Just maybe a little bit more creative about how they encourage response.
If you work for the government, you don't get your paycheck until you fill it out.
They have to remain a teacher until they do it. No, I'm just kidding.
Just fill it out.
They have to stay with us.
It's one of the last documents we have to fill out, is an exit survey. That's right. Just an idea. I don't know if we could legally get one.
Right. Oh, you do?
Just wondering if we can get an update on enrollment next year. How that's coming along compared to previous years.
I don't think we'll have accurate enrollment information until schools back in session, kids in the seat. So I don't think we'll have that until then. I can follow up, I think we discussed this a little bit on some of our recruitment efforts to our students that currently live in our school district boundaries. As I've stated before, we did do an ad in the Lincoln, Northern Kentucky Reader that's going out to over 100,000 people, 3 county areas, Campbell, Kenton, Boone. We also are, to your point, looking at how we can use social media to get that message out there. We also talked about, we had this discussion this morning too, about some of the other ideas that we possibly could do. Trying to remember, wish I'd brought my cabinet agenda up here because I don't have it. I'm going to ask anybody that attended the cabinet meeting, if you all can think of the other item we suggested this morning that we're looking to do. I know 3 of you out there, 4 of you out there was in the cabinet today, so.
I'm paying attention to you.
That wasn't me, it was their idea.
Phone calls.
I remember phone calls, but we talked about that might be a
Direct mailings.
mailings to, yes, direct mailings to people that we know currently live in the Covington school district who may not be attending our school. So we might do a direct mailing in it, saying why they might consider us as a option. Well, we partially got it done, some of it would include our ad that we put in the Northern Kentucky Reader, but there will probably be a little note for me to them with it.
Well, I think that sounds nice. Yeah. Yep.
I'm just curious, because I know how important enrollment is. It sounds like we don't really know what our enrollment's going to be until we have to recognize if they're showing up tables. Is that right?
Again, Mr. Brown, he raised his hand, so please move forward. What I was going to say, Mr. Brown, is every year, you go through about a week or two where you're really trying to figure out what your impact program is. And there's a lot of teachers, count the number of students in your class, and kids that haven't shown up yet, you need to notify students. It's confusing on everybody because are you supposed to give like day 1 if they're there, day 2 if they're not there? Is that kid still on? Mr. Brown, please.
Traditionally, before COVID, our district, about 20% of the students finished the year. Didn't come back the next year. Now, they may come back during the year, many of that 20% will re-enroll sometime during the year because they moved here for a while and now they move back. Part of the dilemma is the high number of our students who live in rental property. And so as they're dealing with those kind of things, that's part of the dilemma. So in a typical year, I get the data. It's just hard to deal with COVID and the craziness. We also got city heights, we have met with those people. They told us who is moving into like Laconia Terrace, so my district has a better idea which students are moving away, which ones are coming back, but there's still, that's still a process that's happening over the next, I think they say 3 more years. So they call on that committee too. So they have been reaching out to us about that as well. So, ready test is a big one. Kindergarten, for example, when we look at our preschool numbers, we have about 60% of all kindergarten students typically attended days, even in the years when they had very high numbers. We still have a lot of kids coming from other facilities, other daycares, are also moving in the area.
What I was going to add to there, Mr. Bryant, is each school year, at least in the state of Kentucky, no matter what district you're in, you really don't have an accurate count until around September, mid-September. And then you pretty much can say, okay, here's our enrollment for the year.
By law, we have to reallocate to our site-based council by September 15th if their enrollment is higher. In the past, we typically not taken teachers away and moved them. So if you go through all your opening day stuff, meeting the teacher nights, all that stuff, it's not a good practice to move somebody after school year starts. But this year, as tight as our budget, we want to make sure that we have all of a sudden got 4 or 5 extra teachers, because our enrollment is down. There's probably a better possibility this year than the last few that we could, and we told principals that we could be moving people. We still have open teachers, and you've got a year, they don't have enough students here. We talked about that probably would happen this year.
Any further thoughts or discussion? No? Glenda already touched on the red folder. I believe that was the only thing in there, which is just great information. We definitely should take a look at that. So keep that kind of handy. Just look through it a little bit. We do have, I just covered it up. We do have upcoming events. If you are interested in going to KSBA, going to Lexington, please let Becky know. It is coming up very quickly, in just a couple of weeks. We have the golf outing with Covington Partners, if you're interested in that. I would start with Becky as well on that if you're interested in golfing or participating. Our next board meeting is more than a month away, but we will see each other in between. And then we're getting into first days of school information here. So I will just for now skip a little bit of that. We'll enjoy our summer. That's it. Is there anything else? By the consensus to adjourn tonight? Great. Meeting's adjourned. Thanks, everyone.